everyone. Thank you for coming to class today. It's January 30th, 2021, and I hope that you were able to set up your computer so that we can get started with this web conference. So let's remove all our distractions. Make sure that your phone is off. Make sure that your door is closed and locked, and you have a please do not disturb sign on it. And let's just take a second to rid ourselves of anything that might be distracting us. So we want to make sure that everybody is able to benefit from this class. So if you could take a moment and go to the bottom middle part of your screen and select the raise hand tool, then we'll be able to know if you are able to see the red record button in the left-hand corner. That's great. Are you able to go ahead and take those down? And can you also see that there's a quality check? And are you able to hear me? Obviously you can, because you're raising your hands. So great, thank you. If you could lower those. Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 3, Technology and Thinking. And this comes from Dr. D. Randy Garrison's book, Thinking Collaboratively. Now, by the end of this session, participants will be able to describe how technology is both a disruptive and constructively transformative force. Participants will be able to describe how technology can support an environment for deep learning by sustaining connections and creating opportunities for thinking and learning collaboratively. So let's get started with an activity. Which of the items below do you identify as an educational technology? Use the shape or pencil tool to make your selection. Go up to the top left-hand side and find that tool. You could use the pencil or the shape tool. Awesome. Thank you very much. And you guys picked some good ones. And actually, all of them would be considered educational technologies, but those are the ones that we tend to think about the most these days. So if you would, please go to the upper left-hand corner and select that pointer finger. And I want you to find the results on this slide. There you go. Very good, guys. So this is, go ahead and undo those, is something that we have so much information on. We can do a quick Google search. I just put pandemic in just for the fun of it because it's the topic of the day. And I found 839 million responses on that. And it's like, how do you make sense of all that information? There's got to be many, many, many understandings. So this is why we need to think critically. We need to be able to evaluate and revise what we know, and we do this by talking to others and learning new information from all kinds of sources. As you know, a traditional classroom really, even though you can share ideas and thoughts, at least the instructor does, and sometimes they have ways for students to also engage, but really to learn collaboratively doesn't often happen in a traditional classroom. So we have all kinds of technologies. Today we'll be focusing basically on digital type technologies. We have all kinds of abilities to connect and communicate. And it's a common problem for people when they're trying to use technology to try to entertain students, and really that is not the focus. It's all about higher level thinking. Now it's important to know that engaging in collaborative learning, there's lots of ways to use technology, digital technologies especially, to be able to engage students. Now, just because you can connect and communicate with others does not always mean that you can think collaboratively by doing that. So I would like somebody to raise their hand if they're able to give us their thoughts on why some technologies do not encourage thinking collaboratively. Danielle.
So I think a lot of the technology and social media platforms that we have really give us access to people with the same ideas as us. So it doesn't really make us think outside of the box.
Very good. I can tell that you read the book. Appreciate that. Anybody else want to say anything? If not, we'll move on. Go ahead, Sharon.
Well, the picture you have on the screen reminds me of my teenagers, where it tends to be one-way communication. When they're watching videos, they're not interested in collaborating. It just becomes something else to watch.
Exactly. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so let's do a poll. I'm going to set up my screen. When I get it set up, you're going to answer this question. Which of the following do you think is a good educational technology? Go ahead and select your response. Okay, looks like everybody selected the same exact thing, and that would be number 3, Google. You can go ahead and clear your screen of that if it's still there. I agree that Google is probably our most advantageous technology, but there's so many ways to use other things as well. So now I wanted to ask you, though, to quickly use put an emoticon on there for how you're feeling about some of these things. Just pick something and go down to the right-hand corner and, to your emoticon area where the setups are. There you go. Thank you for that. So as we just discussed, deep learning doesn't often happen easily with social media, and so that's what we're talking about a lot today. One problem with social media is the confirmation bias that we have with it. It doesn't encourage critical thinking. We tend to have mindless interactions. Simply liking something doesn't mean that we are getting deep into the discussion and revising what we understand. Sometimes, well, let me go ahead and ask you to do this first. I'd like you to go to the right-hand bottom corner and go to the bubble for the chat, and I'd like you to put something in there about what kinds of things happen when someone gets upset over a post on Facebook. Unfriend, that's a good one. I've seen some things in recent days. Unfriend or troll, oh, that's for sure. I've seen anger spats. Afraid to share the real thoughts. Very good. I can tell you read the book as well. Unfriend a lot of people. Yes, I get it. I like to listen to what everybody has to say, but I'm not going to likely tell people if I don't agree with them very often, and that's just typical of how social media is set up. So Gladwell in 2010 talked about how that social media is a weak tie, where people tend not to have a leader in these kinds of situations to challenge our assumptions. And so that's the problem we're having with social media. So strong tie networks are when we can collaborate with others and listen and consider what they're saying and look at all the evidence and determine what our assumptions and beliefs really are and revise them. That's what learning is about. Now, when we work together, we collaboratively, we build on our trust with each other. We have a common purpose, and that's really important to creativity and critical thinking and coming out with a really good result. So for this activity, I'd like you to go up to the left top part of your screen and select the text tool. And I'd like you to think about in the workplace, what kinds of technologies can be used in our jobs for collaborative thinking. See if you can drag that down and type that in there. Teams and Zoom, definitely. Teams, yep. Texting, Teams, Zoom. Yeah, right now in the pandemic, we're learning all kinds of ways. WebEx, very good, very good. There's so many different ways that we can use technologies, and we really want to make sure that we're going deeper with it too, and that everybody is working towards that end. So it is not as simple as being able to connect and communicate with people for us to be able to think critically. So we need to remember that just simply having the technology is not the answer. A common purpose and goal, very important for being able to get down to the deeper things when we're trying to understand and work together as a team and individually as well for understanding things critically. And our technologies can be used in education. All kinds of things can be used, but we just need to focus them and make sure that they're being used for critical thinking. I want to thank you so much for showing up today, and if you have any questions, I apologize, virtual listeners. I meant to tell you that I'd like you to go through this activity, go through all the activities, listen and reflect, and come up with some meaningful things that you learned from this conference. Take care, and we will see you next time.